For my nonfiction book, I chose For the Birds, The Life of Roger Tory Peterson, written by Peggy Thomas. And before I read a little bit of the book, I just wanted to give a little background on who Roger was. He was the preeminent American naturalist who illustrated and chronicled the natural world to the public in the 20th century. Over a long career that began with nature study in the 7th grade in Jamestown, New York, he observed, recorded, and published for lay audiences the incredible beauty and diversity of plants and animals from North America and around the world. In 1984, the Roger Tory Peterson Institute of National History was founded in Peterson's hometown as an educational institution charged with preserving Peterson's lifetime body of work and making it available to the world for educational purposes. The institute holds a permanent charter from the New York State Education Department. Okay, talking about accuracy and authenticity of the author, Peggy Thomas, she actually went and visited the Institute and did all of her research there. So she was pretty factually accurate and had some good qualifications through her research. And through content and perspective, the purpose of this book is to let an audience know about the life of Roger Tory Peterson. And an intended audience would be another naturalist, somebody who is into learning about the different animals, specifically birds, because that was his passion. There's a lot of reader involvement in the book because in the back of the book it talks about the Institute and things that you can do there. It gives you the address, and there's a lot of vivid language describing the different animals, and there's a lot of different reference aids in here. You can see here that there's a picture of like the topography of what a birder should look like and the different parts of things that he should have. So I'll just go ahead and start reading a little short section of this. Some kids called him Professor Nuts Peterson. He'd carry a snake in his pocket or a bird's egg in his cap. At 11, he was already in junior high school and yet refused to walk in line with the other kids. He looked as thin and gawky as a fledgling egret and sometimes smelled of skunk. He didn't have lots of friends, preferring the company of creatures in the woods near his home in Jamestown, New York. But the friends he did have were good ones, and they called him Roger Tory Peterson. Roger loved being outdoors. His home at 16 Bowen Street was noisy, filled with his mother and father, sister and grandmother, and sometimes 6 cousins. From his woodland ramblings, Roger brought home abandoned nests and collected wildflowers that he carefully pressed between newspapers under the living room carpet. He netted butterflies by day and moths by night. But the city of Jamestown had a law. Children had to be off the street when the siren blew at 8:45 p.m. The first moths didn't come out until much later when the sky was black as ink and the street lamps glowed. Roger didn't let a curfew stand in his way. He trotted to City Hall and explained this problem. When he left an hour later, he held a piece of paper that read, "This permits Roger Peterson to catch moths around the streetlights until 11 p.m. It was signed by the chief of police. One fall, Roger pinned dozens of cocoons to his mother's lace curtains so they could wait out the cold. But in the middle of winter, when the coal stove blazed, the July-like heat inside brought the insects to life. The cases softened and new moths wriggled out. Green and yellow, brown and gold, they fluttered near lamps and laid sticky strands of eggs on the piano." Sit at your desk school wasn't much fun for Roger until a new teacher, Miss Hornbeck, formed a junior high Audubon club named after John James Audubon, who was America's first major wildlife artist. The club went on field trips, and for 10 cents each student got a monthly leaflet describing a new bird. On one hike up Swede Hill, Roger saw a clump of feathers sitting low in a tree. He watched it for several minutes, but it did not move. It must be dead, Roger thought. Silently, he crept up to the brown bundle and reached out a finger. With one touch, it burst into new life and flew out of sight. Roger's heart raced as fast as the startled flickers. So alive, thought Roger. How wonderful to be free to fly anywhere. That was the moment Roger knew he would spend his life with birds.